Hello, Duelisters. Moosin here. I recently returned to Duelyst after quite a long time away. I've been having fun with it. It's been pretty good so far. Not sure how long it's gonna last, but it was just nice to return and experience what I knew I enjoyed about the game and what made it really great for me as one of the best card games out there. What I want to do in this video is just go over my recent Gauntlet games. I think I want to get into the habit of just watching replays and just pointing out mistakes, and I think sort of forcing myself to be reflective about my plays and my games can help me improve as a player. So I did a Gauntlet run last night. I think I went 10 wins. 10 and 3. Oh yeah, I would have started here. So, let's just get into the first game. I'll probably go through all 10. In fact, it's 13 games, so if you want to buckle in, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I will be going over all one, like all my wins and all my losses. So, I do have the sound on, but there's no music right now. So, just with this hand, this draft was very late game heavy, so sometimes you'd struggle in the early game. So we do have the Saberspine Alpha. It's probably an easy replace here. I have my 3 and I have a potential buff with the 3, and I don't think I'll be needing the Dragon Lark this early considering I have this 3 locked in. So I think I will place the Alpha and the Lark. That's probably what I would do, and I'm hoping that's what I did. Okay, that's good news. And so, we see the Spiral Technique, another powerful late game, but also not needed this early, so I'd probably give that a replace. The Mass Flight can be used after we use the Cold Fist to maybe try and reach things. We're quite fortunate in that he didn't have a turn 1. Replace into a 2-drop. Now, against some generals, you'll want to... well, it depends on the situation, right? Because you got to account for things like Saberspine Tiger. If they had an opening drop. If they had an opening drop, they ramp and Tiger. So sometimes you need a position around that. But in this particular situation, he didn't have a 2-drop. He can't ramp to 4. And if he was going to clear it anyway, it would be Phoenix Fire anyway. He probably wouldn't use Tiger. Sometimes when they have things like the Phoenix Fire, Demonic Lure, Chromatic Cold, the positioning isn't too relevant, but if you think it's something like Vitruvian, how else are they going to clear it? It's going to be Tiger, so maybe in that situation you'd want to turtle up. Alright, so we have the potential buff, so that would give us, 6 damage to clear something if he plays it defensively. A defensive card, we have that Phoenix Fire. I do get rid of the Mass Flight. It's best used on quite bigger things than just what am I going to put on board. At best a Cold Fist. And I know my Blink is actually going to come up next turn, so it's not super necessary at this stage in the game. I do draw a Light Bender. I do decide to Phoenix Fire and Rust Crawler. I could have obviously Cold Fisted to try and clear it and just get a bigger body on board, still deny mana, but that would leave this at 1 health where Ping could finish it off, and it seems like he's struggling to deal with it, so I want to kind of preserve it. And I can use my Ethereal Blades with it. I have 2 buffs with it, or I can use it on the Rust Crawler in close to try and clear something. And we're in a good position. We're guarding this Manitar, so we could ramp to 6 next turn. And we also have some Dispel. So we have a high potential to remove something through damage. And we have Dispel for powerful effects. So he has the Twin Strike. So he's got it to 1 health now. He is suffering from poor draw. He's probably just setting that up. So at this situation, we can't ramp to 6. We don't want to use our answers. So we just push for damage. This has to be nearby the thing that it buffs, so you have to play it in close to the Widowmaker. But I decided to use my blink to get it into the action after the fact, and push a lot of damage. So he draws the Onyx Bear Seal. And Key Beholder to try and stop that. Now I don't have my blink up, so it's a fair call. I don't think the Lightbender was worth using. It seems like a pretty obvious 6. I just go up and clear the Key Beholder, and Grimes behind me. I think it's a fairly common sense play. We do get the Snow Chaser. But he couldn't really afford to stay in and punch it and stand near this damage. But the good thing about Kaleos is that if you have the initiative and the board presence, you can dictate trades very well with your BBS. But I do believe that this was lethal with the blink, getting everything in a position. Oh no, it wasn't actually. I miscounted because I thought I had it, but I was one off. Because he was at 13, I thought... What did I think? I probably thought that I was going to Saberspine Alpha for lethal, but I needed to blink to get things in. I did miscount here because I was going for lethal. So I kind of quickly changed my game plan and just decided to get down to Lightbender and Snow Chaser. I wonder if I didn't blink this in, I would be missing out on 5 damage. But maybe I didn't need to, depending on where it was. It was here. So I needed to blink that in, and if I didn't blink that in, I missed out on 5 damage. So it was equivalent. Considering it wasn't lethal, blinking this here was the right play anyway. And the Mind Cage gives you a copy of the spell, I believe. So he has a blink. But it's not too relevant here. Yeah, it's always unfortunate when you miss turn 1. Like, it's a super difficult deficit to come back from. And he didn't just have 1 weak turn, he had 2, when he just had to sort of twin strike punch. And he didn't have any follow-ups. So, really, really hard luck there. Now we're versing Boobies. Which was, I think a difficult game versus Faye. Alright, so again we have this late game. It's nice to have. I can see an argument for keeping the 5. I wouldn't be against it considering we have a decent curve. We can Veil Hunter into Whale Tar and just have that at the ready. Because it's quite a doable 5-drop provided it doesn't get aspected. Again, the Saberspine Alpha is a little bit early. But I wouldn't be surprised if I did keep the Bite Moss. Let's see. I did replace both. Okay. Yeah. Maybe it's because I knew my draft was so late game heavy and it was likely that I was going to draw into those big minions anyway. Just because the draft really tended towards that. Anyway, fairly standard play the Veil. We draw into a Boss Caller, so potentially 2 into 2, although it's not great. I was a little bit concerned here, considering where he put the Cryoblade. For me, it either meant like 1 or 2 things. One, he has Glacial Fissure and he wants me to step into that center tile. Or 2, he just really needed the ramp to 5. Because it's obviously a free clear on board. And I was very, very hesitant, right? to step center and do that in case he did have the fissure. But if it was the case that he wanted to take to try and get the 5 mana, I really want to deny that at the same time. And I don't mind. I think I keep the Rust Caller. I'm not 100% because Fae does tend to run the Snowpiercer. It's a fairly, well, it's a basic card that a lot of drafts do pick up. I do step center and take the free clear, and just hope I don't get baited. Slap down a tar to take the tile. I think that was a bit mistimed. I think that happened at the start of the game and it only just caught up. So now we have the Flame Wind coming down. Trying to contest my Veil Hunter. I'm surprised that Fae didn't have some kind of spell removal by this point. Maybe like a Chromatic. Maybe a Hearth Sister. There's a fair bit of removal they could have. But he's forced to just try and stick something on the board and contest. So one thing I could have done here was blink, move down here, blink it in, and Ethereal Blades. And I don't think that's a bad play. I think I opt to develop here though. Well, I could have developed as well. I wanted to preserve this tar because it's kind of a very threatening board presence, and I could always do that later. He doesn't have the removal for it now, or maybe he does, but he just wanted the contesting first. But he's kind of getting locked down, and I think if I just preserve my blink, I can sort of force a frenzy out of him. So it's not a bad play, and I can definitely see the argument for it, but I go for the Phoenix Fire. I do remember I go for the Phoenix Fire and finish it off with the Veil. And then play the Rust Caller behind me, I think here, to contest the tile. Which plays it around Dancing Blades. So I'm only 1 card behind, right? But I'm so far behind on board, I do punch. Because I'm 3 cards up on board, 1 card behind in hand. I want to press my advantage while it's there. Duelyst is quite a good drop for him to have. Because it's likely to... either it stays on board or it generates you a Tombstone. It's tough to push past and deal more damage, so it can help him stall out the game. I do opt to, again, I could blink in, I could ethereal, push a lot of damage, and just start working on the Tombstone. I do decide to play the Jacks, because I think he's somewhat struggling to deal with this ranged. How is he going to cope with a lot of ranged? I don't believe this works out too well for me, though. It was quite mistimed for me to play the Jacks as he's coming up on 6 mana. You could say, well, in hindsight, probably wasn't the best considering, well, what if he does, like, how do you remove the Jacks? Frostburn, alright. You don't know that he doesn't have it, and he's coming up to 6 mana, which is the first opportunity you have to play it. So, the other, like, AoE, I think, is, like, the Snowstorm, whatever, the 1 damage AoE. But I don't... and it isn't rare. So I do think that something like a Frostburn being a rare, it is something that you should play around. Yeah. The good news is that he can't develop anything else. He obviously still has this on board. So now he has the initiative with that AoE clear. I replace into a Spiral Technique, and he takes the damage from the tar. So at this point, okay, he has the initiative. My board has got cleared, and I'm down on cards, right? He's still got 5. I've got 4. Alright. I'm going to lose that value game in the long run, considering I don't really have anything to take the initiative back. I'm just going to try and push damage as fast as I can. Play the Bright Moss down and start swinging. So needs to clear. He knows that if he just stays on top of the board at this point, he's going to be in a really good position. Boundless Courage was really nice there, but he does take another 4 damage, which is important for me. And just spiraling this board presence out of control. Now, a hand isn't looking too good. I tossed the Ethereal Blades because I have nothing on board to use it with. And we draw a Wings of Paradise. I don't want to get locked into a corner too much. I need somewhere to play this safe. I Spiral Counter since it attacked last turn. It generates a Tombstone, and in some factions it would be an issue, like because they'd be able to use it effectively. But Fae just tends to use it to try and lock down, just use it as a provoke. They don't really have any Divine Bonds or anything to make it too threatening. I play the Wings of Paradise and then I Thunderbomb. The provoke, again, isn't really a problem with Kaleos because you have that blink. So even if you move this in, which I'm pretty sure I do to lock it down, I knew that I didn't need to blink it now because I could blink it next turn. And that let me not go down to 2 and just use the 3. And we're coming up on 8 mana, so obviously this is 11 damage. He's at 11 health. This Wings is kind of operating as a distraction. I do think about the blink, but I realize it's better not to. The only thing that would save him at this point would be a heal. I do play into Dancing Blades, but say that I hadn't, you'd probably... that would just be a free trade-off with this. I know that I punched... did I punch this last turn? So I know that it's not the ranged. But yeah. Spiral Technique definitely steals you games that you maybe shouldn't have won. It's kind of like that. Let's get some music. I didn't realize I had it down in the settings. I'll be good. What's the next one? Nova. So now you see how late game heavy it is. In our opening hand we have Grimes, EMP, Hammond Blade Seeker, and Spiral Technique. Very, very heavy draft. Obviously we need to get rid of some. The 5 and the 6 can be played before these two. So I think I toss the EMP and the Spiral Technique. And the Mass Flight kind of starts to shine when you consider things like EMP and Hammond Blade Seeker. Maybe if you don't have the blink up, you need to get them in the action. And they can go further than a blink could take you, potentially. Oh, and also we have Pado. We also have the Pado. Another replace. Now we draw into the Phoenix Fire. Now considering... I know for a fact that I do use the Phoenix Fire on the Chakri Avatar. You could say that, well, what if he has a ranged minion follow-up? Well, my hand has no other removal in it. If you did play a ranged minion on a follow-up, or I'm going to be playing the Dragon Lark as well, so maybe I can fly over and at the very least play a minion over to it. But if you start to play spells, this is going to get out of control really quick. So I decided to shut it down early. Considering the only real response or plays I can make is just playing minions and hoping that you don't have removal for them. Meanwhile, this is getting too big. The other thing this Dragon Lark lets me do is potentially ramp to 5 even if you take this tile. That's the benefit of just a flyer. Okay. I get rid of mass flight for the same reason I did earlier. I know my blink is going to be up next turn. And I ideally want to draw into some more playable cards at this stage. So I know I can take this down in 2 hits. So I punch that rock pulvey. So I can just punch it down next turn. And play the Heyman right above him. Now I do think I make a unnecessary play here. I take the 2. I think Pato is another replace. The Grimes and the Saber Spine are definitely more usable than the Pato. Pato is much more situational. Just to sort of bail you out of a tight spot potentially. So, I have the 2 into 2. I take out the Rock Pulvey as I said I was going to do. Now I have the option of obviously clearing that Geomancer, right? I decide not to. Alright, so I think what I do is I move the... Well, the mistake I make here is that I use my blink when I absolutely don't need to. I blink the Heyman in when I could have just moved it 2 down, so... I did waste a blink when I could have used it the following turn instead. But what I should do is just move the Heyman 2 down and play the Kaido behind Waver and the Rustcrawler in front of them to lock them down against that wall. And then I move the Dragonlark in the top left corner. And I do that because, you know, at this stage with the Hammer on board, the Geomancer, your BBS is now Phoenix Fires, you kind of want to burn. But if I'm generating all these targets that you'd rather clear with the BBS, like 2-3 health minions, and I'm playing the Dragonlark defensively, so you might want to Phoenix Fire that instead. It sort of directs the Phoenix Fires away from face. And even though he has the Geomancer and I'm taking a lot of damage, I'm down on health, he can't really afford to switch pace and try and just outburn me with all the board presence that I surround him with. So yeah, the blink was completely unnecessary. You should just move it down. And I can't move away from this because I punched the Rock Pulvey. So yeah, at most with the 5 and 3, he's dealing 8 damage to me. But I'm also wasting him with 8 damage and all this damage. So I had the advantage there. So we had to trade the Geo and Phoenix Fire it, which is great for me. He's only got 3 mana and I still have all these resources on board. So, 2 options here really. Play the Cold Fist to just buff and trade in there. Well, I guess 3 options. Buff, trade in here with this or this. Buff here and just regular trade by punching using the general. Or play the Grimes. And I think I opt for the Grimes. I was deciding what to trade. I decided to cash in this Dragonlark, considering a ping at any point would just remove it from the board, and then it wouldn't have gotten much value at all, because pings are very cheap. It could have just been a Ghost Lightning as well to help him clear. So I decided to cash it in now, punch, and that way I can punch with this, and it stays on the board, rather than just trading it in like this. And obviously this is going to come in and backstab. And I think I play the Grimes behind me to play around Dancing Blades. And play around some AoE as well. Keeping them kind of spread out. So at most you can only clear 2 things. With something like a Naga. Or what's it called? 6 mana, deal 3. That's not Naga, that's something else. Unfortunately, this does spawn here. I can't really stop the spawn. So this would still be a hotspot. He plays the Latigrus. And with it, I assumed that he was going to clear the Kaido. But instead, he decides to punch me. And just use that to protect his back so he doesn't get backstabbed. But the downside of the Latigrus is when you're behind in health. Like things like the Latigrus and the 7 mana. Man, I just don't know cards. 7 mana, you play it, you punch, deal damage to your general, and it deals 7. Man, I need to learn the cards again. What the? How do I not remember its name? Anyway, you need to just... It's less good when you're already behind in health and you're forced to take damage to your general to proc those effects. But I'm pretty sure we have lethal here. We have 5 and 3 is 8. We need 2 damage, and that's a 2 damage buff from the Coal Fist is going to get us there. Now obviously it gives a random minion, a random nearby friendly minion, but you can, in that situation it didn't matter who it gave it to, and when it does matter you can just only have one nearby minion for it to give it to direct the buff wherever you want it to go. That was Novat, wasn't it? Yeah, that was Novat. Okay, so this hand, we have a 3. So we want to try and sort of replace that this early game. I like the Jax in this matchup. Jax is sort of rated fairly highly in Gauntlet, and I kind of see why, but it's a bit 50-50 for me personally. Because some factions just are going to have the removal for something like a Jax. If they have any AoE, they have the clear. Whereas some other factions with their AoE, it's not as common for them to have drafted it. And in general, those AoE is a bit less usable overall. So it's not always the pick. So obviously Abyssian, an answer could be Breath. But I rarely see that in Abyss drafts as far as removal goes. Whereas things like Tempest is very common. And Ghost Lightning is very common. Frostburn, again, less common. But I still think you should play around it if they have it. And Plasma Storm. But when it comes to, you know, Vitruvian especially, like, Vitruvian aren't going to have an answer to Jax that's in faction, I don't believe. Like, Scorn is always an answer, but it's out of faction. And Abyss, I would say you have pretty good odds if you were to play it. And all those Jaxes would stick. So I think the answer here is just to replace the Heartseeker and the Dragonlark, considering we have a 3. We want to try and find a 4. And having the late game is a bit better going second. It just shows a direction that the game can head. Again, we draw an early Spiral. We don't necessarily want it. We replace Spiral. And we draw a Veil. So, very ranged heavy right now. Now, I never like when people do this. Planar Scout. I just don't think it's a good card. If you have to pick it as an early game drop, just, honestly, I wouldn't even use the air drop. To be honest, just play it like a regular minion. Just play it here. Or maybe you play it center. You know, maybe you play it center. But even that's a little bit risky. You either play it like a regular minion despite the air drop, because taking the tile just isn't worth it. You're going minus for no reason. Like, I take 2 damage for 1 card in hand. Any player would take that. Or you just play the Woodwind regularly. Just play it here. Give yourself the opportunity to ramp to 4. But don't just play it just because you have it in hand. So obviously with Widowmaker. And again, Demonic Lure is going to be common. It's not a situation where we want a turtle. Even if even if we were verse Vitruvian and they did that, taking the free clear was just worth it. You don't want to leave too many things on board. Especially since I'm now very, very aware that he is swarming quite hard. And so he could potentially be building for a Shadow Watcher. Or maybe even a Blood Moon Priestess play, like he's coming up to 4. But I think Shadow Watcher is much more common. So, for me, I did replace that Veil there. For me, it was all about clearing. However, I didn't want to go Veil into Phoenix Fire. Because of how I could play this turn, I could just use the Phoenix Fire to clear the Shadow Watcher if we did play it. Because I'm only going to allow 1 death. I could have made it 0 deaths. I did realize this in hindsight. One thing I could do to just allow for 0 deaths was to move here, punch, and move down his Veil and hit. Just move against the wall. But I think I stand here and allow for 1 death to happen, which would get it to 3 health. But I could have made it even better and just had only 2 health, and then I could Veil Widowmaker it if he did do it. Not that he would. It wouldn't make sense to. And obviously I think Wings of the Paradise is here. But that's why I didn't 2-drop and Phoenix Fire, because I'm preserving the Phoenix Fire for the Shadow Watcher itself. So I do move that down there. Clear the Crypto. Move out of range of this Provoke. Clear. And play the Wings behind me to play around Dancing Blades. If you want a Dancing Blade, you'll have to use it on the Widowmaker. And then I can sort of use my Wings to help clear the Dancing Blades. I couldn't protect both, basically. He does have that Shadow Watcher. Can only get 1 death though because of how he positioned. And a BBS. Now, we do have some options here, because I could just swing this in and clear it. But that seemed to be a little bit of a waste, considering we had that Phoenix Fire. This can kill something with 5 health. Do we want to use it to clear something that only had 3? I do think I end up Phoenix Firing it and just playing a 2-drop. To try and contest this board, because if I can keep their swarm under control at this stage, then I can start more freely playing these Gunchers and these Jack's True Sights to help close, or just further reinforce my board presence and how far ahead I am. You know, there's multiple ways to take this turn. I think the Phoenix Fire here is a given, and the 2-drop is a given. I do take the free clear here. Phoenix Fire first, so it doesn't get buffed. Punch. This Widowmaker can clear a Wraithling. And again, I'm allowing for 0 deaths in case he has another one. And I just preserve my Wings of the Paradise. I should probably put this behind me. He can't reach it with the Dancing Blades now. Yeah, and he's so far behind on resources, like, I had so many cards in hand. And it was quite easy to carry away with that game, considering how many resources I would have. I have the ranged, I have the flyer, anything he plays I can pretty much answer. And from there I would just sort of run away with the game. So, I can kind of understand the concede. So, now we go into our first loss, which was brutal. Completely brutal. And this is where I want to really pay attention to. And you can obviously let me know in the comments as well. The losses is where you really have to think about what you could have done better to see if anything would have made a difference. It was definitely a rough game. Oh no, I do make a huge mistake. If it's that game, I do make a huge mistake that I just wasn't properly looking at one of his cards. You'll know what I mean later. Again, early spiral technique, yeah. We have the wings, which can contest a backline, so we don't really need this flyer. So I think the spiral and the lark could be the play. Could be to replace, I should say. Yeah. Now, EMP can be quite good versus Vath, but again, I've drawn it very early. And the problem is, he has a turn 1 Phalanxer. And I haven't got any pings, so it's kind of awkward. I decided to replace the Kaido. I don't really have any movement in my hand to benefit from a Kaido, so play the wings defensively. If he has the natural, he has the natural. The main reason why I'm being defensive is I don't really want to step in range of this and take the 6 if I can help it. So Pterodon is a really nice 3-drop. It's got 8 health. It's very, very sticky and tough to deal with for Songhai. Like, Songhai has trouble with high health things in general if you don't have that transform, but the transform for Songhai is epic. So high health things are a problem. I do think I roped this turn, because it was kind of tough to try and figure out what to do. Actually, let's just see what I replace first. I think EMP could be to replace, considering I already have some Dispel in my hand for the early game. Okay, looks like I'm going to replace the Tar. And keep both Dispel. Yeah, I don't know if I really agree with that, because if I don't get anything else, Tar will be the play that I make. Just Tar, Dragonlark. And it's going to be fairly mana efficient. And then I have my blink up with Tar next turn. So I don't know about the Tar replace here. Because if I draw like another one of my big drops, like, the only thing I'll be able to do this turn is what? Dragonlark. And maybe Ethereal Blades and try and clear something. So I don't really agree with the Tar replace. And so we get a Veil Hunter. Now I do remember I just play the Veil and the Dragonlark defensively. So that one of them can deal with this, well, obviously they're pings to try and take out this Warp Up, and they are pings to try and take out that Phalanxer, so I don't have to take the 6. And obviously I'm not close enough to really like, it's not enough damage to take out the 8 health, it's only 7, so I don't want to swing it in against anything right now. Because my plan for this is to try and chip it down. My plan for this is to ping it off with one of these. And my plan for this is similarly, try and pick it off. So I think I preserve my Wings of Paradise. Yeah. Considering I'm going to play lots of defensive things over here. I don't want all of my defensive things to be in the one location. So they get light bended or locked down with the Provoke, you know. So what do we see here? The 1 damage isn't too much of a problem right now. And there's the Flame Wing coming down to threaten these. So he has a lot on board. Do I clear this turn? No, not quite. I don't think I quite clear everything this turn, but I get pretty close. So I think the play that I went with was Ethereal Blades onto the Dragonlark and use that to trade in with the Flamewing. And then I move back. Oh, but that's what I should have done. Oh yeah, now I see it. Because then I'd be playing around the frenzy, right? Move there, move there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that... Yeah, that was big. Okay, so the only... I think I made the right play, but I could have done some more positioning stuff. So, I Ethereal Blades the Dragonlark, trade it in, and then I bring the wings, and the wings plus my general with the boost, well, even without the boost, but I just wanted to buff that up and get a really nice value trade in here, and this Veil Hunter obviously clears, so now these are gone, and this will still be alive by attacking this, and me finishing it off with my general. But what I should have done was, because I moved back one and punch it here and play the wings here and punch, I do believe, but I could have moved up. It's playing into AoE more, but I'm getting away from Vath. The reason why I'm thinking about this is because denying a turn of Vath hitting you can be very significant, and I realized that I could have done it. I just wasn't thinking about it at the time. Because all I need to do is stay near this to hit, but this is also staying near it to hit, and it's out of range of Vath. But I was focusing on the clear, and not necessarily my proximity to Vath. And the downside would have been that this would have been exposed, but I was thinking blink. Blink it into the corner, and then I would be here, and everything would be here. Again, it's playing the AoE, but it's getting yourself further away from Vath and protecting all your resources. So... is there anywhere else I could have played this, considering this was here? No, because anywhere else, and this would have been able to hit it. So this kind of needed to go there. I think this should have gone in the corner, and I think I should have been here. Yeah. So we could be at 19 here. Definitely could be at 19 here. So I have the option of... in that turn I had the options. I had 2 6s, right? I had my Grimes, or I had my Jack's True Sight. I go for what is going to be able to body block for me. However, I think this is just going to be a better board presence for me in the short term, and that's kind of what I needed to focus on. Obviously, in the long term, Jax could be good, and he just played Plasma Storm. It's not likely that he had 2 in hand, or he played 1 and he top deck a second. So I can definitely see the argument for Jax just moving up, using the one that you play to block, and then you have 4 others. So I could have played the Jax and blocked. Again, it just all depends on what he has, but this, it can more reliably body block for me to stop me taking damage. Whereas if he did have a natural, he could just natural punch player 4, and I'd still be taking a lot of damage. Whereas now, where this is stopping him from naturaling and just swinging in. So he goes. A turn of him not punching me is great. And he plays the Gigaloth. This is where it would have been better, I think, if I did play the Jax, because I already would have had 4 damage on it. But I only have 3 damage on it. So the effect would have been similar, I think. He would have punched the Jax that was here, or the one that was here, maybe. Played the Gigaloth. I wouldn't have the Grimes, but I would have 4 Jax tokens and would deal 4 damage to it. And then I would probably play Grimes this turn instead, and set up more damage for it next turn. So this is the turn I play the Jax, feeling just as good about it because his only answer would be Plasma Storm, and if he does Plasma Storm, you know, it clears the Gigaloth for me. So it's really not a good answer. The only other answer would be Scorn. And this obviously isn't dying this turn, so I would get a spawn out of the Grimes off of the Plasma. So definitely feeling good about this Jax, despite it being against Magmar. I use my Blink to protect the mini Jax and keep it conserved. Really need to knuckle down this 7 health. So Dancing Blades, just trying to clear some of these ranged, keep this alive. So much so that he uses the Mystic on it. And Punch. Now, I don't know if I had a clear on it. I don't think I did though. Because I've got the... what? The 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Brings it down to 5 health. I just don't think I had any way of clearing the Gigaloth. But, I mean, here's the mistake I make. Not knowing how build works. For some reason... I mean, he played it... Well, hold on. Hang on. He played it. And then I went to my turn. And then I did that. Yeah, I was just underestimating. Like, I thought I still had... Basically, this is why I lose the game. I thought I still had a turn left on the build. And so I move into range of the build, thinking that it's not going to become a Gigaloth at the start of his next turn. But it absolutely did. So, you know. I could have just not moved in range of it, obviously. But I didn't want to get trapped into this corner. So it was just a really bad play. But I think I was also roping this turn. Was I? Yeah, I do think I rope. So straight away right here, I've already stepped in range of it. And I think it's exact lethal. Without realizing that it's going to pop next turn. Because I'm thinking, oh yeah, I still have a turn to take it out. Oh yeah. I'm thinking, yep. The 5 and the 1 next turn, it's going to clear it 100%. So this was just, if I had just been here. If I had just stayed here, for example. He wouldn't have lethal on me, because this wouldn't be able to reach me, right? It'd be, it's 13. But he just punch and this gets the buff. So, if I was here, it gives it +3/+3. He could swing into one of these. This would get +3/+3, so this would be 9. It would definitely wouldn't be lethal, I don't think. Unless you maybe had something like a Tiger. Yeah, Tiger would be exact. But just having a look at his board state, if I was here, I have an Eclipse on board, so we can't really afford to move this in if it isn't lethal. And I have all this board presence. I think I would have won if I had just been here. And like, the difference of 1 square is huge. Lose the game, probably win the game. You can't say for certain, but I think this, with all of my resources, I would have had lethal on him next turn. But yeah. So he had the claws as well. He actually had the claws as well, so that would have gone up to 5. He had 9, and he had +4 again at 13, but I was still at 16, so it wouldn't have been lethal. Would not have been lethal at all. So that game was definitely winnable if I just didn't move forward 2 squares, only moved forward 1 square. So here, this really isn't a good hand, for sure. Alright, so my replaces are Mass Flight and the Spiral Counter. Now, Spiral Counter, you know, situationally very good. I would say I would probably keep it versus Lionheart, considering, you know, Lionheart does tend to just play more solid, big health minions, and it's tough to Songhai to deal with. As I said, high health can be a problem for Songhai if you don't have the transform, and it's not likely you will. So this is another common way to deal with those high health. You just kind of need to sacrifice one of your resources on board to get it to attack. Or have it attack you, but you probably wouldn't want to take the damage. So it's nice, but against Abyssian, I don't think it's as much of a keep. And Mass Flight is something that would be comboed with minions, but if you don't have anything to play, it's useless. So keeping my answer, keeping Grimes, because the value of that can be insane. Now, thankfully we get a Heartseeker, and the Grimes. Now I actually keep, well, I got a Gunsha. I actually keep the Grimes instead, because I think it's, even though they're both random, you know, they both have an element of randomness to it, right? Summon a random, and Dying Wish summon a random, and you get a random artifact. But I think Grimes, just for the fact that it's a 6 mana, you get 2 bodies on board, is more impactful. And it's better for your board presence. And I think board presence should be more of a concern than what the Grincher could do for you, which is get board presence and keep your card healthy. I think the Grimes is better board presence than the Grincher, and I'm not sure about like the maths on the randomness of what artifact you could get versus what is good minion that you can get summoned off of Grimes. I'm not sure about the maths on that, but I just think Grimes is more value, even though the Grincher you could play earlier on curve. I also know that some people like to, if they don't have any 3s, they like to play like a Veil. Well, not everyone does this obviously, but some people do, where they play the Veil here, or maybe the Heartseeker here, so that they can ramp to 4 potentially if they don't have a 3-drop, but I don't like doing that. It's too vulnerable to like a 2-drop Shroud or 2-drop more if they have it. I just don't think it's worth being so risky with what should be a defensive backline minion. So that's kind of clued me into something, that he could have a demonic lure. He might have wanted to like 3-drop lure and not know that you don't have the mana to do that. Just by him hovering over it with something, right? You can really tell what's in his hand. Because if it was a Sphere of Darkness, he would have just played it. It could be an Inkhorn Gaze as well. So, not a very good hand, obviously. Replace that EMP. We get back the Spell Counter. I want to just take this slow, I think. I don't want to waste any of my removal, just for the sake of getting something on board. So I do play it slow, I think. We draw a Killing Edge. So that would have been great last turn. Just deal 5 to face. And we very much had the time to play it. Okay, plays the Venom Toth, blocking me from this tile. Trying to preserve it for himself. So I think I just 3-drop Phoenix Fire here. Do I? I don't know. I think that's what I do. I don't necessarily think it's the play, considering I have a free clear on it. I think I should be okay with taking the damage, to be honest. I think I should definitely go down here, 3-drop to deny the tile. But I think I should just preserve my Phoenix Fire and not use it on this Toth, which is I think what I think I do use on the Toth, and I don't think I should have. So just punch, ping, it's gone. Move down here, punch. Yeah, move down here, punch, ping, it's gone, and just block. And yeah, I'm floating 2 mana, but I'm preserving all of my resources. I play on a tile, and then I Phoenix Fire. And I definitely, yeah. I don't like the Phoenix Fire. I don't think it was correct. Because now if he plays something defensive at the killing edge, but if he plays a ranged, it's more likely that my Heartseeker's gonna die. So he plays the Paragon. Now, this is where I want to sort of talk about my play style in Gauntlet. I will very freely trade my health to fight for board control in the early to mid game. In the late game, maybe not so much, but early to mid game, I will really throw my health around to try and get board control. So, as you can see, I'm taking 3 damage. I'm taking another 3. It comes up again in one of my losses. Well, I'm just like, okay, I need to take this damage to clear this thing. I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? But it does start to get scary at points when you're taking all of this damage, so that they could potentially burst you down to close out the game, even if you do build up this board advantage. So I Grincher, I get a stun Sunbracer, it's really not great, and I take the 3, clear the board. This Heartseeker is stopping it from getting too much of a difference. You know, it's only 3 damage. It's not too huge. Plays the Wraithling Swarm. Obviously Grinch to block the tile. So Gloom Chaser, BBS, and sets up a Shadow Watcher, and preemptively plays a Grasp of Agony, which is interesting. Alright, so I didn't pause in time. I'm already doing some things. So I played a Kaleos. So I had 6 mana this turn, right? There's quite a bit of options, because I have quite a lot of cards in my hand, right? What are my options? I could just play the Grimes. Could definitely just have played the Grimes, but it doesn't really answer his board. I think at the very least, well, the thing I need to deal with on the board is a Shadow Watcher. So just playing the Grimes doesn't do that. Playing a Lightbender would do that. Playing the Cold Fist onto the Heartseeker and then swinging would also do that. Playing the Killing Edge would also do that. So here I very quickly Killing Edge, but there was another option that I'm seeing now, and I kind of did see at the time. Well, it didn't, but did in the same game see at the time. I could have just blinked this over. I very much could have just blinked this over. I'm not even sure if it was the option, but I could have blinked it over and cleared it that way. No, you know what I think was the option? Well, I think the reason why I do what I do is I want a good amount of things on board to try and keep on top of the swarm, which is what Lilith's drafts sort of tend toward. And so I do play the Widowmaker and Killing Edge. And so this gets me 2 ranged minions on board that I can constantly try and keep on top of the board with, right? Whereas other options, you know, playing the Cold Fist would also clear it. But it's a resource that all of his board presence would just be able to trade into if he so chose to do that. It's tricky. It's tricky. But I don't think what I did was incorrect, but I think there was another line of play of playing the Cold Fist, actually. Moving down. And maybe even just clearing a Gloom Chaser. And then BBSing to clear the Shadow Watcher. Because then I don't have to commit to any... I don't have to play a Killing Edge when it's not really warranted to play the Killing Edge, you know? Like, I play a Killing Edge, it gets DT'd, okay, that's my Killing Edge gone. And I didn't really need to use the Killing Edge at this point. So, if I were to do this again, like, I don't think the Killing Edge and Widowmaker, which is what I go for, is a bad play. But if I were to play this turn again, I would probably Cold Fist Blink. You know, blink this over here, this happens. I would probably move back 1, punch, and the Cold Fist to swing here. And if I move back 1, play it here. Yeah, I'd probably just play the Cold Fist behind me, and like move this in the corner. I would probably go for the Cold Fist direction. But as I said, there's nothing wrong with developing a ranged minion. And yeah, I want to step away, obviously, from the grasp. Another Shadow Watcher. So he does get 3 deaths here, brings up to 5 health. But I know that at 5 health, the Heartseeker I have on the board is still going to be able to train into it. Then he Abhorrent Unbirths. And that really caught me off guard. So, it was a Yakers. Alright, so it's going. Obviously, you know what I'm about to do. I'm already doing it. I didn't pause it. Just Cold Fist, buff, clear. So, obviously I have the Lightbender in hand, and I'm not sure if Lightbender... Like, I wasn't sure if Lightbender was going to reduce its stats. So I didn't really want to risk it. So I go for the Cold Fist play. Now, if I had already gone for the Cold Fist play last turn, I would have the Cold Fist near me. I'd have 5, 6, 7, 8. But I wouldn't want to take that 8 damage. Okay. Okay. So it ended up working better. You know. Accounting for the next turn, keeping the Cold Fist was better. No, but I would have had the Killing Edge. Hold on. Because I didn't play the Killing Edge, so I have the Killing Edge. So I have a very similar turn. Killing Edge. Maybe just Killing Edge, trade. Or Killing Edge and this, trade, punch. Again, I think it would have worked out very similarly. But this does leave more resources on board. Because if I had done that, well, again, I Killing Edged this, I trade in the Cold Fist, and I play the Widowmaker. So by the end of the next turn, the board state probably would have been exactly the same. Not exactly the same. Because the Cold Fist isn't dying in this scenario if I already have the Widowmaker up. Yeah, actually playing the Cold Fist later was better. Okay. So maybe Killing Edge early worked out better in the long run. But it won't always. It's not set in stone. It's just interesting to think about. Alright, we actually have a rematch game versus Yalth, who mopped us up last game because of our misplay with the build minion. So obviously we have the Saber Spine and the Veil, toss them both back. We have a 3 and a 4. Again, because I now know some things about each draft. Like, we've played each other before, we both know some things about each other's drafts. I know that... What do I know? I know that he has Plasma Storm. I know that he has a Gigaloth. So there's still some potential exploitation with he puts a Gigaloth down. That gives me the freedom to play my Jax. There's also the knowledge that he didn't seem to have... Well, no, he had some removal, you know, he had Plasma Storm, Dead Space, things like that, but his overall strategy seems to be get board presence. Get board presence and use my board to clear their board. Not necessarily so much out of hand removal. Not things like the, you know, Nagas and things like that. And out of hand damage based things. You know what I mean? I don't think I even saw a natural select in that last game, so I really want to try and contest the board and not fall so far behind like I did in the early game in the last game. That was kind of what I was thinking about going into this one. So we have our Tar. Thankfully he doesn't lead off with that Phalanxer, so we can more confidently contest this board in the early game and not risk taking so much damage. So we develop our Tar. And now he has to consider playing around a Frenzy as well. And I'm thinking Wings, that's great. I have the Phoenix Fire. He preemptively Greater Fortitudes it. Great play. Honestly, great play. Songhai? Oh, they just Phoenix Fire this. It's too easy. Preemptive. Can't Phoenix Fire it. I have to make a very awkward play here to try and answer it. And I do think it's important to. Because anything I play right now, the Wings can just remove. And then he has the initiative. I need to try and keep him on his toes. But it does mean that I have to make a very awkward play. To try and answer it, because my answer now is the Shroud. Since this isn't enough damage, my answer is the Shroud. The only way I can reach that is by going minion into Shroud. So I have to just sacrifice a Veil Hunter to reach it with the Shroud. So it's super unfortunate. So obviously, this needs to go here, and I need to chain. So, and I also kind of want to not get completely blown out by this. But I could have not taken this tile from him, but I think it was still worth it to just take this tile and play into the Frenzy, which is what I ended up doing. And Veil, Shroud, obviously. take the tile from him, play into a frenzy, but right now it's only one attack. He has just used a buff. So now we CD clear. Very good there. Just trade off the dispelled Veil Hunter and get a good frenzy off there. Clear the Veil Hunter for free. And Tethermancer. Now, oh yeah, he played it on the tile so he could BBS. I think from his perspective, I would have, I mean, I don't know his hand, you know, but locking down Songhai with a provoke can be very, very awkward. And it's even better with Vath. If you can lock down a Songhai from running away as Vath with a provoke, that's supreme value. So I would have perhaps locked me down in a provoke, locking me close to a frenzy, locking me close to your general being Vath, and just BBS the following turn. And you're also potentially preserving this tile for yourself. So I think I got super lucky that he didn't lock me down. Obviously we take the free clear onto this War Pup. Which means I do have to stay in range of this Telemancer. But I am developing a threat here. Play the Gunsha. And we get a White Asp. Which, 1 mana White Asp? That's pretty good. But it's similar to what I said with things like the Tigris. It's something that gets value, but you have to have a good amount of health and keep trading health to really get off its effect. Do you know what I mean? And against Vath, that's a scary thing to do. Especially since the 3/3 walls that gets generated do just die to the Plasma Storm that I know he's running. So I play defensive Gunsha. Again, I'm staying in range of him, which is not great. I'm constantly taking damage. I want to preserve my health so I don't have to take as much damage. And he plays double Phalanxer. And against a deck that doesn't have any pings, that's a big problem. That's a problem. So I think I think I could have played this turn a different way. I do think that I should move 2 backward, move 2 to the right, play the White Asp, and kill the closest Phalanx, or Phalanxer. I think I should Phoenix Fire the second Phalanxer. Oh, but Plasma. Is that a problem? Yeah, okay, maybe that's why I didn't do it. So, a consideration could have been, you know, move 2 here, as I was saying. Play the White Asp, trade, Phoenix Fire, and just move this down and punch to try and, you know, clear it next turn. Or I could even punch him if I really wanted to. And that's, you know, these 3 cards. But the problem is, you know, I'm generating a 3/3 wall, and I'm playing a 3/3. And the post-Plasma Storm Gunsha would be the only thing that would be alive. And he would just punch the Gunsha. And so my board would be gone. And I'd be trapped in a corner with not many resources. Yeah. I'd be here. Vath would probably just move here or very close to me. BBS to finish this off if I didn't decide to, even if I didn't decide to punch anything. BBS finish that off. Probably punch me with this before he plasmas. So it'd be a really bad play playing in a plasma, even if it does clear more of the board. So I think what I end up doing is playing the White Asp, punching, developing that 3/3 wall. I think I trade this off to not take that 6, because and then I preserve my Phoenix Fire as well, and I play the Flame Wing to play Mana Plasma, and I'll get completely blown out by it. Swings there. Yeah, so I know I'm not going to play the wings. I would place the wings and I get a Heyman. A Heyman, it's too... I mean, it's risky. And I think when I have to end up playing it... And maybe I even should have played it this turn. Oh my god, I should have played it this turn. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, I definitely should have played it this turn. And why I should have played it this turn is because it achieves the same effect. It plays around the Plasma Storm. But... he has a Telemancer on board. I can just use the Heyman, clear the Telemancer, and then my Heyman would be dispelled and I wouldn't be taking the 2 damage downside. Oh, man, I should have played Heyman this turn. Ah. Oh. I wasn't really thinking about it. I didn't account for the new minion that I had. Because I end up playing it... Spoilers. I end up playing this later in the game anyway. I should have just got it down a turn earlier. And not taken the damage while his Telemancer was still up. Man. That would have been really nice. That deals damage to this one. Yeah. So here comes the trying to close out the game through just lots of board pressure that I was kind of expecting. Okay. So he's all in. I know that now. Like, he's played a lot of his resources. It's there. Now, if I can clear... I know that if I can clear this board, I'm going to be in good shape. Because... if I clear the board and I just play one more thing, I have the initiative, and I'm super behind on health. But I didn't see any closes. I didn't see any Saberspine alphas or anything like that. Haven't seen traces or anything. So if I can clear this board, I can start to get the distance. I can start to capitalize on my own board, and I can probably win the game from there. So this was an important turn, just clearing as efficiently as I possibly can. I know what I end up doing, I remember. I move the Flame Wing here. Wait, do I? And I think I do. I move the Flame Wing here. Trade. Lets me move away from Vath. Getting at me from here. Move here. Punch. Develops the wall. Phoenix Fire 83. And play the Heyman. Now there's a kind of L formation here, and I'm here, so it's blocking me off. I'm pretty protected. He'd need to move against the wall if he wants to keep trying to close the gap to try and get to me. His only other option is move away, and as soon as you move away with Vath, it's a really bad position to be in. So yeah, just the turn's going to play out. As I said, I do remember it quite distinctly. But yeah, the Heyman could have been down a turn earlier. It wouldn't have necessarily helped me with all this board presence that he developed. But the Phoenix Fire on the White Asp does. Dancing Blades to finish off that young Flamewing, and he's running away. So his plan, probably, just use the Heyman against me. And I already know that pretty much. So it's just keeping the Heyman close is the goal here. And I have the Spiral Technique, so I know that now I have the initiative. I have a big bodies to play. I can probably pretty confidently close out the game before this Heyman kills me. So blink it close to him. clear the Dancing Blades, limit his resources, play the Blight Moss. And I did replace the Cold Fist because I wanted more minions. I didn't want to float too much mana. I joined to a Saberspine Alpha, which is also quite nice. He runs away. He plays the Provoke here, so that if I want to move this in, I have to hit this. It would normally be a problem if you didn't have Blink, but because I have Blink, I know that I can Blink it here, up along this wall, and trade it off. Like, this is a nice value trade, obviously, but it's keeping it alive at 1 health. And at this point, I'm a little bit concerned about my own health, so I just want to trade it off. And considering I have Saberspine Alpha and I have Spiral Technique, I just want to deal the damage to him. Now that there's a big distance between us, I don't care as much about his units. So I use the Blink this turn. I'm pretty much all about just getting in that damage. So the question becomes, should I have Saberspine Alpha that turn? The Alpha, that would be 13. I should have Alpha'd. 5 is 13, he's at 19, so he would go down to 6. Yeah, I definitely should have Alpha'd. I shouldn't have replaced the Alpha. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I did. If not to go just crash it into face, which I think would have been fine to use it for, but just maybe even clear the Shield Master. I should have used the Alpha that turn. Wow. That was a bad replace. And we played a Thunderhorn instead. Really bad replace. This could have gone really bad for me if he had an answer for the Thunderhorn. Answer for the Thunderhorn. Probably an answer for the Blight Moss as well. Well, he could have just punched it. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, he would have gone down to lower health, though. So I would have had it anyway. With the 4 and 8 is 12 and he's at 11. Even after he didn't punch it. So, you know. It could have gone sideways. By not using our Alpha. We do have the finisher. And we get revenge. So here, again, you see the late game in action. You see the spirals, the pados. It's too early, so we replace them both. Now, it's looking very bad at this stage, because it doesn't look like we're going to have a turn 1 play. So, considering we might not have a turn 1 play, what are we going to need to get us back in the game? Well, it's probably not going to be a Cold Fist, because a Cold Fist is only really good if you have something to play it on. And it's not likely we will. So I can see a Cold Fist replace here. And I don't mind the Jack's True Sight against Vanna. Again, earlier in this run, I did get Frostburned. And it ruined me pretty hard. But I don't think it's that common to see a Frostburn. So what do I replace here? Alright, I just get rid of the late game, okay. My mindset wasn't in that vein. It was, I need the early game. I'm going to replace the late game and try and find early game. And this can help you trade up, which is really nice. So I turtle up. I don't want to contest and take 4 for free. Like if I contested this tile, I would just take a free 4 damage. when I have a turn 1 Snow Chaser. If it was Crystal Cloaker. If it was another minion, I probably would have stepped up and just played this above me, or yeah. So this was unfortunate. Sentinels, you know, it's sometimes tough to determine which sentinel it is. You know, and I don't really have any clues, right? Because I've never played this before. Well, I've never played this person's draft before. At this point, I'm thinking, what was I thinking? I don't know, I had a hunch that it was the Free Blade, the minion swap. And considering I'm about to play potentially 2 minions both defensively, I almost considered the minion swap to be the worst case scenario, because in both cases, his 2-drop is going to trade with my 4 if I do decide to play that defensive minion. Oh, but that would have been fine. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was the play. Yeah, God. I'm so glad I'm doing this, because I already just... Like, I know what the Sentinel is, obviously. It's not Free Blade. But Free Blade was my concern, right? And given that Free Blade was my concern, I shouldn't have been concerned. Because I play my defensive Thunderhorn or Flamewing. And then if it did get swapped, this is threatening it. But I have the Future Shaker to just trade off with the Cloaker. And then, okay, so he has a Thunderhorn right next to him now. Or he has a Flamewing that can just fly away next turn. I shouldn't have been worried about that at all. But I was. So I should have eliminated Free Blade being an issue. I could have just not attacked with my General to not trigger the Flyer, the ranged minion. So the only thing I have left to play around is just not play spells. Don't attack, not play spells, and play the Flamewing or the... Well, I would probably play the Flamewing. Man, that would have been such a good play. That's really unfortunate. I replaced the spell counter and I Thunderbomb. So, yeah, my mindset was all wrong for this turn, because I Thunderbomb assuming that the worst case scenario... Like, I know that the spell one exists, but I just wasn't thinking that it was going to be, considering where we played it. I thought it was going to be a Free Blade, and I made a bad call. I made a wrong call, I should say. I do Thunderbomb. And this is where it comes into, like, I need to take the damage to clear this thing. I'm going to do it and preserve my board. That kind of thing. But, yeah. Definitely Flamewing the white play. One of my 4s was the right play. And I just take so much damage in the early game. And he has a Red Steel Minos. And Red Steel Minos with Kara's BBS. Ugh. That's a 4 mana. That's a 4 mana 5/6 right there. That is steep. So I'm just like, okay, I need to get rid of this thing. I need to be able to play spells. Throw the Thunderhorn down. Because I need something to body block, right? Play the Thunderhorn there. What do I do with the Future Shaker now that it's there? I move it down closer to me, or I deny the tile. Fair call. Fair call. So he punches there, swings in there, and he uses the Scorn to finish off that Future Shaker with the punch. And yeah, I'm thinking, you know what I should have done? Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have used the spiral counter on his dude. I don't know why I didn't. I was just like, I probably wasn't thinking too hard about this turn. I probably wasn't thinking about this turn as much as I should have been thinking about it. But the play is fairly obvious. He's just used a Scorn. The best answer for Jax that Vanna could probably have. I doubt it would have a Frostburn. So I should have just taken his tile, spiral counter it, don't take the 5, like I end up doing, and then play the Jax. Just, this is going to be in range, so just use it to block. And then I have a lot of Jax tokens. He can clear 2 of them, but that's still going to leave me with 2, and it's going to stop this Scorn from hitting me for a turn, if it decides to go that direction. Now, I know he has a Tiger, so that's going to be another 4, but it wouldn't be lethal. Yeah, I should have just... There's a couple of turns I should have just played so much differently. But yeah, again, I'm just using my health too flippantly. And obviously here he can just Tiger BBS and finish me off. But I should have taken that tile, spiral countered, not taken a 5, developed the Jax. I could have been in a really good position. I don't know if it was winnable, but I wouldn't have lost immediately. Because I think he would have perhaps had a hard time trying to close out the game. Because it's Kara, right? You haven't got any inevitability. And if I start getting board control, that's where it can spiral out of control. That was my second loss. Now we're going... Arisalta? I don't know how to pronounce that. So I get rid of the Kaido Assassin and the Spiral. Spiral is an obvious replace. Get rid of Kaido because I have the wings. I have my 10-1 play locked and loaded. And I also have a Dragon Lark. Skywalk Golem. So let's try and find some more curve picks. That could be interesting to get rid of a Adamantite Claws. Now, I don't know about that. I don't agree with me turtling up here. I don't think I should have... I mean, it's okay to play it defensively, but this isn't so threatening as to run away from. I ideally want to use my general to clear that thing. So I don't agree with the turtle here. I should have contested more. Considering that he can just natural select it and then I'm in a bad spot. So, you know, it's possible... Well, two things to consider. I had just lost a game, so I might have been, you know... Sometimes when you lose in particular circumstances, it doesn't make you leave you feeling too good. But I was also fairly late. I was playing this fairly late at night, so maybe I stopped making super thought out turns as much as I should. And this is why I want to do this. I want to just reflect, like, oh, I'm not making right plays now. It's just not correct. Alright, but he does have the God Hammer, and I do have the Rust Caller. Supreme value. We get rid of the Saber Spine. Now, he doesn't move this in. See, if I was here, like, I play this, I move up. He moves, plays, done. Swing, full clear. Rust Caller plus Future Shaker, same as I do this turn, I'm fairly certain. but I wouldn't have been... Well, let's just see why I play them first. Well, this wouldn't have been alive. That's first things first. I would be here, punch, and then both these things I would have been able to play defensively. Not both, because I'm going to be taking the tile with one of them. So I'd be here, this would be gone, his artifact would be gone. I would probably play the Rust Crawler on the tile like I do, and play this more defensively like I do. But this would be, if I just move forward, this wouldn't be here. And so I'd have a tougher time trading things off. He does have the free clear on this anyway, but it's like one less resource. And then now I can clear it off, but I'm taking one more damage to do it, right? And sometimes one health makes all the difference, you know what I mean? So I don't have too great of a play. I decided to go for the Killing Edge. Killing Edge and clear. And I put it just in range to kill the Thrax. And then I blink it away, because I don't want Vath to just be able to clear everything for free and just keep having the initiative. I want something on the board to contest with. If at the very least it'll let me use Ethereal, if there's just something else on the board, you know what I mean? So we have the Gigaloth come down. Yet another completely different Magma draft, but also is running the Gigaloth. It was so often. And so often I find myself in this situation. They play the Gigaloth. I have the Jacks in hand. If they want to clear my Jacks, they have to clear their own Gigaloth. And it will be their whole turn as well. So we're not going to make the same mistake twice. Just like the other player who used that Healing Mystic, they stack it. They want to keep it alive. 12 health. 12 health to truth you without our 7 attack minion. But we have all of our Jacks. So we have... And I think that was a fairly obvious play. I think playing the Jacks represents 5 damage, whereas this would only represent 4. It just straight up. That's the reason why I played the Jacks over the Thunderhorn. And so, yeah, 5 damage, 6, 7 damage. We need 5 more damage on this. Now, that is a Phoenix Fire, and the Ethereal is going to get us there. Would just Ethereal? No, the Ethereal is just 4. So, I do need to play the Ethereal and the Phoenix Fire to be able to clear this. And I know now, I don't have the time to wait. This turn, it needs to go. So, I do just go in. Take the time to clear it with the Phoenix Fire. And, oh yeah, I Phoenix Fire. I have a second one. I Phoenix Fire his, Earthwalker. Okay. Now his board's gone. No more Gigaloth. I fully expect a Plasma Storm at this point, but he only has the natural. He decides to natural the one that he could already hit, which I don't really agree with. And what that would have done here, he would have naturaled, punched, wings. I would have 3 left. I'd still be able to kill the wings, but he wouldn't take 1 damage to his general this turn. And again, 1 damage. Sometimes that 1 damage makes a difference. So, this Jax, I move to the other side of the board, considering I have my blink up next turn. So, it's not like I'm using it and I won't be able to use it later. And it's just not having all of my resources grouped up into one area. Okay, and he plays the Silithar. Silthar plus BBS. I mean, he was here. He moved here. He could have played the Silthar there, but then it'll just be too far out of the action. So I understand why he's trying to play it in close. But just the damage on the board. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. You know, any 2 damage wins the game here. And obviously I have it in hand. But it didn't have to be that. It could be a Phoenix Fire. It could be a 2 attack buff on something. There was a lot of things that it could have been. But at this point, when you're like, well, I'm high on board, I've only got 3 cards. Sometimes you do just need to make a play and hope they don't have it. I understand that too. Okay. Again, this is going to be a long video. You know, I'm going through 13 games of worth of replays, so. Alright, so again, we get in a habitable place in the late game. I don't keep the Ethereal and the Killing Edge, because I think 1 buff is going to be enough. And again, I want to keep cycling to just try and get a solid curve lined up for myself. Because you could easily just have the natural for that. But I do have the wings as a follow-up. And it could even just be a ping. So he plays the Future Shaker. It's a nice free clear for myself. I think this is a fairly standard turn. I should have replaced first. Maybe the reason why I didn't... Yeah. Because again, I think much like Snowpiercer, like Snowpiercer and Claws, they're quite common artifacts for Vath and Fae to draft. So I don't dislike the Rust Caller keep. So maybe the reason why I didn't replace was I liked my hand. Even if there's not like a solid 4 or 5 apparent in my hand right now. You know, I have Dispel, Artifact Removal, I have the Phoenix Fire, I've got the buff on one of my defensive minions, I have a free clear on his minion here. So maybe the reason why I didn't replace was I liked my hand. As long as I don't replace now. Yeah, okay. Again, Jax, this guy's draft is an unknown. I don't know that I'm going to be able to abuse him playing a Gigaloth to play my Jax. So I should replace the Jax here. This next turn could just be a Killing Edge. Killing Edge. So I draw the Thunderbomb. I did rope this turn, trying to think about how I should go about it. Because I know that at any point when I damage this Haruspex, I could draw a card that could change my play. So I kind of wanted to just do the damage early, and maybe that would change my play. So what I think I should have done, thinking about it now, is my plan is to Thunderbomb and trade in the wings. Thunderbomb his face, obviously, and trade in the wings. And that's going to do 1 damage and 5. The other thing I could do is just trade these in. 1, see what I draw. 5, see what I draw. But I'm going to need to play a card first. You know, as soon as I were to hit it once, I would need to play a card to get the second and finish it off. So I kind of like the Thunderbomb play for that reason. I do think I Thunderbomb, I see what I draw, and then I trade. But I think I should have traded first. Because at this point, I've already committed mana to my turn. So even if I did draw something, I might not be able to play it, and I did, you know. Yeah, it was absolutely correct. I should have traded the wings in first. I would have drawn the Widowmaker. I would have probably moved back, played the Widowmaker, and then finished off the Specs with my Heartseeker instead. And then I would have a Thunderbomb. So definitely correct to trade the wings in first, because that card draw could dictate your play, and you need to have the mana for that play to be available if you do draw into it. Just a bit of a misorder. Yeah, take the tile and just play my 2-drop. Because I was roping. I was just like, okay, get a minion out on board. Go, go, go. So this is where he does something very good for me. He goes for the Veil and the buff. Well, it's not that great for me. Not that great for me. But, I do replace into the Mass Flight. So I think what I do here is Mass Flight and use it so that my Rust Caller can close the gap, trade out with that Gazer, and then Shroud his ranged minion. Because a Killing Edge on my own ranged would just 1-for-1 trade, and then I'd sort of be behind. I could Killing Edge and then play a Veil. I could Phoenix Fire trade, play a Widowmaker, but I'd rather just preserve and Shroud it. And make use of Mass Flight when there aren't too many situations where it would come up as useful. It also helps me clear the Gazer, you know. And I step 1 down, I believe. Trying to stay in the action a little bit, but keep out of range of their general. The problem with that play is I don't develop anything this turn. If I had gone for the Phoenix Fire, I would have a Widowmaker instead of a Heartseeker. But I wouldn't have the Phoenix Fire, but I would have Shroud. So my hand will be slightly different, but this, you know, Widowmaker is better than Heartseeker. He plays a Silverbeak. So a very defensive Silverbeak. And at this point, like, I'm not really worried about that Silverbeak. It's quite far away. I have good distance on it. I have the Heartseeker, you're at 19. And I have the Killing Edge and the Phoenix Fire. So I'm thinking I can close out the game before this Silverbeak can sort of become relevant on the board and really threaten anything of mine. I could just slam down the Grimes, but I'd rather develop my range at this point. And if you do Plasma, then I'll Grimes. Or if you Plasma, then, well, I've got the Jax. I jumped at a Jax again. So a solid 5 damage on him. Now he's 14. He's really low, considering. I've got 7 damage, plus the 1, 2, 3 is 10 damage. Next turn. And he does concede. I think because I had such distance on the only threatening thing he had on the board. And I had 2 ranged, one of which I was playing around Natural, I was playing around Plasma Storm. You know, kind of playing around Rebuke because my Widowmaker would have survived. Playing around the more common Magma removals with that board state. It would have been tough to close out the gap and win the game from there. So we're doing King of Kings. Just not too much to think about. Getting in a late game, it's pretty standard at this point. He plays Koi. So the thing with Battle Pets obviously is you can make it a 50-50 as to whether it takes the tile. I don't know if you can make it 100% that it doesn't. I wonder. I don't think you can make it 100%. Because you move down here, it's still trying to reach you. So it's still a 50-50 on whether it moves here to reach you, or moves here to try and reach you. So you may as well just move forward down here. And I think I play the Veil. Try and get a nice ping off on that Koi. Provided he doesn't have a natural selection. He gets the 50-50, takes the tile. He plays a 3 though, so he doesn't actually use it, which is good for us. And I'm thinking, should I Thunderbomb here? I ended up thinking, oh, it's too good not to do, right? But you know, there was another play, I think. And the other play was to Shroud and Kaido Assassin. That was the other play. The other play was to Killing Edge. Killing Edge, kill this, and just take the 3 damage. Now, I'm not saying that it was gonna live. It was gonna die. Obviously, it wasn't gonna die, but it's keeping that alive at 3 attack, and this is alive at 5. So, playing around a natural selection, basically. But not clearing the board. There was definitely an alternate line. This cleared the board, but the other play played around removal a little bit better. But I also take more damage, so there's lots of trade-offs and lots of little nuances. So the again, I'm not sure if this is happening in real time. I need to move the Colossus. Shroud is a consideration, but I think if you can remove it through damage, you should prioritize removing things through damage if you don't need to use your dispels, your transforms potentially, you know. And right now it's only 1 attack. It's not that big of a deal at all. All he needed to do was play this here, and that would have been a big problem. I would have needed to have used my Shroud. But Ethereal Blades is a really nice exact clear on this. And we play our Kaido Assassin. And thankfully, well, say he did play that what I would consider to be correct, and he played it here. I would have needed my Shroud. So if I had actually shrouded his 3-drop, I wouldn't have had the Shroud to play on that. And that would have been a problem. A big problem. And I play this right here. It can obviously walk onto the tile. It's also, you know, in really good, a really good area, so that just 1 blink is very likely to make its position relevant again. Whereas if I did here, you know, if I put it here, he moves this way. If I put it here, he might even move that way and move away from the Kaido, so he doesn't get backstabbed. He's going back towards his wall. But here, no matter which way he moves, it's likely I'll be able to backstab something. Especially since he moved to the right. Because he's trying to close the gap on this, obviously. Now, he does play this defensively. It's more correct. But I have the Phoenix Fire, plus the Veil Hunter itself is the 4 damage I need to kill it. And at this point, we're in a really good spot. I opt to go for the Killing Edge. It's just a really nice buff. It's going to replace itself because I'm actually using it on a backstab minion. So I don't feel bad about that at all. And the Phoenix Fire swing clears the thing that's threatening this. Again, you consider the Cold Fist, be a bit more conservative with your buffs. Maybe you want to use it on that later. But I really like the sort of cantrip nature of killing edging on a backstab. Gazer. And yeah, he's just really far behind. Sometimes your draft just isn't very good, and you don't necessarily want to play out games you don't think are winnable. Like, I don't really criticize people for doing that. We have the EMP, obviously can go. And I don't keep the gunshot either. So, don't keep the jacks. I'm versing a lot of magma as well. Like, I draft jacks, I verse a lot of magma. It's just, in general, not very good. I got lucky with the Gigaloths. Well, sometimes I got unlucky with the Gigaloths in dying to it, but you don't always get that situation. The build minion situation, right? Doesn't have to be Gigaloth. So we have the Heartseeker. I obviously have a lot of backline here. Potentially defensive minions. So we have the Pterodon. And we have the Lava Lance coming down. It's pretty good. Since my turn is probably just going to be 3, I replace my Dragon Lark. I did think about it, because I ideally want to have the best chance of having something alive to take out his eggs. And the Dragon Lark provided, in case the Widowmaker gets taken out, is another option for that. But I do have the Thunderbomb. So that can also achieve that end. And again, we have this really beefy 8 health minion. So, you know, it's looking like we're just going to have to knuckle it down through damage, considering our hand. So, Widowmaker in the back and just punch it. Pretty sure that's what I do. He's just used a Lava Lance. He could have a natural though. Okay. He plays the Grimrock. And he buffs up the Greater Fortitude. Now I find it interesting he didn't move the... He didn't move the Pterodon to block me from taking this tile. I mean, I could have just moved around and played something on it, but sometimes the difference between having to place something on the tile to use it and walking onto it is very big. And I don't think there was any real disadvantage in just moving that over. So I think that's what he should have done. So the Killing Edge onto a Widowmaker brings it up to 6 attacks, so we know we'll be able to clear this. And from there, what have we got? Not much, because we don't have a 2-drop. And I ideally do want to replace for one. I want to keep this Thunderbomb for his egg next turn. I wonder, what do I replace? I might replace this, considering I can't play it this turn. But maybe I want to, like, 3-drop Phoenix Fire next turn. The Killing Edge happens every time. I agree with that. So do I use the Phoenix Fire? I don't. I agree with that, because I know how much this is going to get buffed by. I know it's going to 6. I already have something to clear it. It's a 5 attack, so again, the natural, it can't quite clear it. But I don't disagree with moving against the wall, because now I'm out of range of this. Yeah, I float the 2 mana, but the main reason I think I move there is to just to get distance from the Grimrock, and then I can clear it with a Widowmaker without taking any damage. Because at this point, he's, you know, Snowshot is, he's behind on cards. The board state isn't really in his favor, but he's ahead on health. And so his strat is just, I need to close out the game. I'm not going to win the board state. I just need to win through damage. Because sometimes if you don't have the answers, that's just what you need to do. So a second grade of fortitude onto the Grimlock brings it to 7. So kind of an awkward turn. Kind of an awkward turn. Because I need to use both my spells to clear his board. Was there a way? Phoenix Fire. I don't think there was a way of just using like just a Phoenix Fire, like definitely not. Unless I wanted to take the 8. But considering he's racing me on my health, I don't want to take any damage that I don't need to. And so I use my spells to stop myself from taking the 8. Just Phoenix Fire. Even though it's only like 1 damage off, I use a Phoenix Fire, a bit of overkill, so that I preserve more of my health, basically. Now I fully expect to see a natural here. Now, and he didn't do anything. And so I was kind of very, very concerned. What was I concerned about? Oh, I was concerned that because he didn't play anything, he was holding certain resources in his hand. And so I almost got a little bit scared, considering how many buffs he had, that he was going to run the egg combo, you know. Play egg, hatchet, and then buff. And so I wanted to stop the general hit. I really wanted to stop the general hit here. And so considering I need to stop the general hit, I would need to play 2 things. And I'm at 6 mana. I opt to play these 2 over the Thunderhorn. And so I replace the Thunderhorn to try and find a better 3-drop so I don't need to play the wings offensively. I joined to Pato though. But I think it's acceptable. Just to try and stop him taking damage. I still play the more valuable thing around Dancing Blades and just use this to body block. So I was right here. When I moved off the wall to block his general, I was correct. Because he wouldn't have been able to move here and shroud it earlier. But we get in that 6 damage. And this is just lethal. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with the blink. One thing I could have done was I moved off the wall. He moved here. I moved here, block, block. He moved here, shroud. If I was here, I could have moved here and blocked twice, and he wouldn't have been able to shroud. He would have been in an even worse spot. It was lethal either way. But that does play into, well, it could be better in general to spread out your resources. I didn't want to all be boxed up in the one corner of the board. I can see merits to both. This would have been preserved, but there's no way to know for absolute certain that it would have. You know what I mean? He could have had removal another way. And final game. I lost. As I said, I went 10. 10 wins is, I think, fairly decent. Sad that I didn't get to 12 though. Alright, so a couple of 7s can go. We play the Dragon Lark. Fairly, well, it's our only real option right now. But I don't mind my hand, you know, Dispel, damage, a turn 2 play. Ethereal, perhaps. Could be quite good. Has the True Strike for a Lark. Now, so obviously playing the wings is the play, but do I want to contest this? Do I want to move to center and just punch that crab? Given that I won't be denying any tiles, and I'll just be throwing in my general to be locked down by Provoke. And given that the wings can value trade off with that crab, because it'll go to 5 attack and there's 5 health. I think I'm hovering over that Ethereal Blades, and I think it's correct to replace the Ethereal Blades. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I would play the wings defensively, and I would also be defensive with my general. I don't think it's worth getting locked down by Provoke, considering he's about to go to, what, 6 mana? He can play a lot of things. So I play the wings, but I go offensive. Yeah, I don't like going offensive. I don't think that was correct. Considering what Lionheart, even Zuran or Arjon doesn't really matter. Considering what Lionheart can have access to as far as Provokes go. He does have the Martyrdom. So I think I kind of get... Well, it wouldn't have mattered, would it? Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like how many... The risks that I took and the resources I used to clear a 2-drop. I don't like it at all. I don't like the Phoenix Fire, and I don't like that I was very aggressive with my general, and it could have really backfired. And yeah, we only had a Heartseeker to play. Now we have the Tar, though. He has a Latigus. Which is really not good. Now, at this point, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes in this game, and I'm sure you will see that as it happens, because at this point it was fairly late, and I wasn't thinking about turns as much as I should have. Even more so than earlier games. There's sort of just two options here, just Shroud and Tar, or just slam down the Grimes. And I think at this point in the night, I just slam the Grimes. And try and answer this through damage, because I do have... well, I have a chance to hit it here, and I have the Thunder Bomb, and I have the Grimes potential board presence that it's going to generate, plus a Blink to try and reach it next turn. Lightbender is also a consideration, obviously. But yeah, I just YOLO the Grimes at this point. And unfortunately, I only get a bear. Sunset Paragon, really good answer. And the next Grimes pull we get, fortunately, is only a Sandhowler. So a couple of bad pulls from the Grimes. You know, you roll the RNG dice. Sometimes it doesn't work out in your favor. And I wanted to get in there with a Lightbender. But he blocked it. So I end up just, what do I do? What, okay, let's not focus on what I did, because it probably wasn't the right play. What should I have done in this situation? Let's think. I could have Thunderbombed. Thunderbomb and this would do it. Would kill it. Get me off the wall. And then Shroud this. That's a play. I don't think I can afford to just slam down his threat. Yeah. It's either Thunderbomb Shroud or Shroud Lightbender. Shroud here and use the Shroud's position to Lightbender this. Move here, punch. Now, I do Shroud Lightbender, but the reason why I don't think it's that great of a play is just like, yep, okay, I'm using all of my removal of this turn. You know, I'm using all my Dispel. It's gone. You know what I mean? Like, I like to be a little bit more conservative with my removal if I can help it, but maybe I just couldn't help it. Maybe it's the right play because there weren't too many other better plays. Except for this one. Thunderbomb, move here. Bam. I'm stepping in a range of a lot of damage though. And he still has initiative. The benefit of this play is it puts some bodies on the board. I move here, punch. I sort of try and get distance from these despelled units. To try and give them a bit less value. I don't know. I don't think it was terrible. It just doesn't quite sit right with me. Do you know what I mean? And it's going to be tough because I need the time to play this Bright Moss, but it's not happening. So Thunderbomb, keep getting away. And play our tar. At that point I do throw in the towel because it was not my game. He had a 1 mana clear on a 3-drop. I think if I didn't have anything stick that turn, I would have lost anyway. Because, like, what? He 1 mana cleared. He's probably going to play, well, I don't know for sure, but he's probably going to play a big drop. And I've got nothing to contest it with. And I'm in the very corner, so I've got nowhere to run either. So, that was pretty much GG at that point. If that had stayed, you know, I had the Ethereal Blades, maybe I could have made something work. But it was not to be. It was not to be. So yeah, I know that was a long video, but that's the nature of Gauntlet. You play a lot of games, and replays can take a while. Again, I'm fairly happy. I think it was sometimes the early game was quite rough, and so we didn't always get the chance to play our late game value cards. But you know, Kaleos is always fun to play with because of their blink potential with blink. And how that can set up value trades and things like that. And how it can close the gap when they try and just run away. And try and create distance. You can close that distance again. And it's a very interesting Bloodboard spell, I think. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'll I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Maybe some more Gauntlet. I have no idea.